Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of the Quantum Revolution of Education. And for this one, I just wanted to take a few minutes and kind of explain, give the key points of what I like to call Newtonian education. This is basically where we've been for at least the last 100 years or so. I wanted to start off with these two photos, one from 1920 on the left and from 2020 on the right. And even the way we do things, it looks the same. It is kind of the same. And I'm not the first one to recognize this. There's many educators out there who understand that the way we do things today is largely the way we've been doing it for decades, if not the past century. So I call this Newtonian because in Newtonian science, Newtonian physics, for example, it's predictable. It's deterministic. You can basically treat objects identically as a number, basically. Mass, for example, if you've ever had any kind of physics in school. And you can put that into some formulas and it can accurately predict what happens to it into the future. Okay, that's kind of how we've been treating our students. So for example, we largely think of students as being identical based solely on age. So all 10-year-olds should do the same in school. All 15-year-olds should do the same in school. And this is very restrictive. It's basically saying, think of your own experience. At a particular age or in a certain grade, you walk into a classroom and you're in maybe a couple dozen other students the same age as you. And on the same day, you're taught the same material using the same teaching methods for the same period of time. And then on another day, you come in and you all take the same test for the same amount of time. And the teachers, the adults, basically are expecting everyone to kind of do the same, more or less, regardless if that's true or not. And we all know that that's basically not true. You have to move on because you have to get through the content. You have to finish the course. Because at the end of the year, there's a good chance you're going to have some kind of standardized testing that you'll have to do. So this is where we start getting that separation. We're treating human beings as if it's, take your pick of these little phrases here, as being assembly line or cookie cutter, fast food education, standardized education. That's the way we've been doing things for a very, very long time. And it leaves basically little to no time in a typical core classroom, certainly for core subjects, of allowing for individual interest to be pursued by students or allowing for creativity by the students. So this is where we've been at. And this is the kind of system I and many others think we need to turn away from. But this is where reforms don't work. Just making little tweaks here and there, trying something for a short period of time, if you don't get immediate results, move on to something else. That hasn't worked for decades, certainly as long as I've been in the education business. So that's why I'm arguing that we should not think in terms of reforms anymore, the little band-aid solutions, but rather a full-blown rebellion or revolution in education. And that's where the quantum mindset's going to come in, and that we'll discuss in the next episode. We'll get into what I call the quantum mechanical student. It's not Newtonian. It's not thinking of students as being identical to each other, if just because you're at the same age. It gets away from this one size fits all type of education model. And again, we have to think differently if we want to act differently and really change and revolutionize how we do things in the classroom with students. So that's where we're headed. And let's see where it takes us.